Well, hello. So I'm finally returning to my series on designing my own set. The set itself still doesn't have a name, and last time I talked about like generic stuff about what I want to do with the set. So now uh, I've done some work behind the scenes, let's say, uh, and well, just basically first I made some notes for myself so that I returned. So world, I guess I should just note the idea here. So just a refresher, super sarcasm mean is an idea by Charles Ford from like early 1900s, where the idea is that basically everything that gets lost goes into this one specific place, which he called Super Sargasso Sea. And okay, so my idea is again that in the multiverse, when things get lost into the what are they called? Well, the whatever is between the different planes. Um, why can't I remember the names? Well, anyway, um, when you have to move from plane to plane, you have to go through this basically some sort of void, and where only planeswalkers and the Eldrazi Titans and some other beings are able to move. And so yeah, when something is dropped into there, then it ends up here. This is the world, which still doesn't have a name. I don't know if I'll come up with one. So okay, some touch points like where do you get the feel for this world? So I put in. I couldn't find like any good fantasy source. Not that I even looked that hard because I generally dislike. I like the idea of fantasy, but most of the things that like the big, well-known, whatever books, movies, whatever, are not necessarily to my liking. So yeah, so like okay, so touch points. Mingwa Ignota. This is like Canadian opera singer who makes heavy metal music with very religious themes, and there's certain amount of desperation in the music. So she's part. So she's something that get a feel for the world. Also, I put Mad Max 2, 3, and 4, meaning the Road Warrior, Beyond the Thunderdome, and how can I forget the name of one of my favorite movies from the last decade? Well, my memory is not working at all. And finally, Thor Ragnarok, which is like the super sarcasm because a lot of things end up there. Okay, so feel unpredictable and hopeless. Unpredictable because you never know like when things are going to arrive and where they're going to arrive and so forth. And look, it's like patchwork of biomes. Like, so how I thought about this was that like because planeswalkers used to be a lot more powerful before what's known as mending. And well, a few of the planeswalkers around are from before the mending, like Sorin and Liliana and Yugin and uh, Nahiri and Teferi, Karn, um, and obviously Nicol Bolas, but he's not a planeswalker anymore. But anyway, they're generally a lot more powerful, even though their cards might not be more powerful. But then the new generation of planeswalkers. And well, these biomes were basically from the time when you used to have these huge spells like Armageddon and whatever, and these kinds of spells like obliterate whatever, and these would cause like some parts of those worlds to be dropped into this world. So the biomes are from that time, but since the ecosystem, maybe in some ways the ecosystem has evolved to match this place, but like the bodies of water are not connected, that ended up there are not connected in like this ecosystem, so they're stagnant and putrid, and people have a very hard time even finding like drinkable water. And also there's plenty of weird monsters around. The theme is like looking into the future, finding new uses for old things. And mechanically, I thought about, okay, so graveyard for all the refuse that ends up here, and library manipulation for the way people are trying to look into the future. So I thought about this, and going back, I think surveil is going to be is a mechanic I'm going to be using quite a bit here. And then we have the factions, and I named them Church of the Desolate, which is mostly white, somewhat black, but I'm not going to stick strictly into any specific colors. I'm just going to have these. I guess they're going to be mostly in one specific color, but I mentioned like a secondary color for two of these factions. But again, like many of the factions are going to just be, well, are just going to have people in them, and people obviously can have very different outlooks on life. So we have a Church of the Desolate, which is friendly but sinister. Everyone knows their place. And their look, so they have some sort of attempt at uniformity, and they'll mostly be wearing white, and they'll have similar insignia and whatever. And their goal, they want to take over control of the area of the whole world, basically. And they're mostly cleric soldiers, peasant advisors, and these are the class types. And then we have the human Loxodons. They have humans, Loxodons, and cats, whatever the cats are usually called. Well, the cat name for the humanoid cats, whatever. And of course, they're gonna have different kinds of animals, like whatever oxen and goats and whatever white cats usually have. So they're extremely hierarchical religious order. But yeah, the real function is to provide meat for the upper echelons, and they have their own military organization. So these are just basically a basis for how I'm going to approach making cards for this specific faction. And then we have the resistance. And yeah, these are not in like the usual Wooberg order. I put these in the order like the resistance is mainly there to resist the Church of the Desolate. So they're individualistic, competent survivalists, and they're like edgier version of whatever group they are with. And so because they're mostly infiltrators, so they work within a certain other faction. So obviously then they have to look like members of that faction, but they can't help themselves, and they want to look cool and whatever. Their goal is to stop other factions from taking over, because, well, they're individualistic. They're like, the way I see them is like westerns. From much of the Western genre, especially the later Western genre, the revisionist westerns were about like these cowboys, these very individualistic people who wanted the freedom of the borderlands, the deserts, wherever they were. They wanted that freedom. They wanted to live on their own rules, and so forth. But when the time comes and they are ready to make the sacrifice, they're ready to give their own individualism and their own freedom up, so that others can have certain kinds of balance and find peace. And yeah, and well, live in peace, live in prosperity, without the fear of like bandits or someone trampling over their fields with their huge uh, with their cattle or whatever. But these guys, the resistance, these are individualistic. They're not ready to give up their freedoms. They want this kind of organization to stop. Well, they're mostly rogues, assassins, the humans, hags, shades. Shades, obviously, like I don't know if they're going to have shades as members. We'll see. I guess shades are not generally thought of as uh, rational beings, but well, we'll see. So they're very loose organization. They have self-organizing cells working with only a few other such cells. So their organization is very like emergent, not an actual organization, not actual hierarchy. Just teams working with other teams. And then we have Explorers Guild, who are optimist, curious, knowledgeable, but sometimes just plain wrong because, well, they don't know that much about the world. So their look is they're practical. Most of them wear tool belts of some sort. They're mostly blue, somewhat green, and their goal is that they sort of understand the situation. They know that they don't really belong to this world, so they want to find their way back. Obviously, they lack the tools because they're not planeswalkers, but this is their ultimate goal. So the wizards, artificers, scouts, and I've listed humans and nagas. We'll see that I'll probably have others as well. Maybe elves. Actually, I list elves here already. Maybe merfolk, but the situation with the water is quite bad, so it's possible that there's merfolk here, but they die pretty fast. So they have a pretty good understanding of the situation, at least compared to the other factions. Then we have Cultivators Guild. I'll probably change the name, but this is what we're going with now. So the traditionalists looking for new traditions, Native American agricultural societies around the Great Plains. So this is what I was looking into. Like, there is the problem with the water still, but maybe they figured out how to get water, at least how to. Well, they figure out some ways of having agriculture, and for this reason they're often oppressed by the Church of the Desolate, who obviously want their fields. So they sort of they're like semi-nomadic, even despite having this agriculture. Maybe they do have some permanent communities, settlements, but well, we'll see. I'm not sure, but obviously they're always in the fear of being found out by the Church of the Desolate, and their look is practical, light, patched, because they work the land, so their clothes are often they often need to be patched. So they're mostly green. They want to cultivate the land. They want to make the land livable, basically. And their scouts are peasants and elves, humans, and rocks. So these are green. So one of the aspects of green is traditionalism. So I'm going to push that. So because obviously these people don't have common traditions. Well, they probably have some common traditions. Like obviously all farmers will have some traditions regarding their sun, because it's just so important part of whatever they're doing. So they will have these kinds of commonalities, but yeah, but they are trying to, they need to figure out new traditions, but obviously they want to stick to because they are traditionalists. They want to stick to their own traditions, but these communities have been born from bunch of different people arriving here, so they also need to build new traditions. So there's this dichotomy between keeping the existing traditions and forming new ones. Yeah, so minorities are common, and this is the only one of the factions that has plenty of children around. Then we have Order of the Penitent. So they're noisy, outspoken, fanatical, look ragged, minimal clothing. They're mostly red, and their goal is to find penance in order to move on to whatever their personal version of heaven is. So they believe that they're in some sort of limbo or whatever you want to call it, between life and death, waiting to move on to heaven or whatever. And the way they believe that they can move on is to, find penance in some way. And well, there are clerics and shamans and probably other types as well. We'll see. I guess many of these folks don't actually have like a class or any usable class. So it's possible that many of them are only going to be human or goblin or Vyasina. So they're not really an order as like that would, so they're not actually organized. So they're just a bunch of flagellants traveling together, and mostly the other factions stay away from them because they are seen as dangerous, even though most of them are not. Some of them definitely are. So I also have like beginnings of skeletons for each color. So I started with commons because the point is that if I'm going for like a draftable set, I need to have the commons in place. And the commons will also, like, obviously different people experience the sets differently. Like obviously me mostly as well, I look at the spoilers or previews when they come in, so I have an idea. So I'm mostly seeing the set through the splashy cards first, mythics and rares, and then I'll move into, because I do like to draft much more than play any of the constructed formats. So in that sense, I'm also quite familiar with the commons. But for like most people, they don't necessarily follow the previews, but instead they'll buy a booster pack here and there, and they look at the cards. And when you're like what Wizards of the Coast calls is this is fan. So when you open the whatever 14 cards of the pack into a fan, and then you'll see the 10 commons and the rare and the uncommon. So mostly you'll have commons. So the commons have to tell, you have to get an idea about the world in the commons. So that's why I'm starting with the commons. I want the commons to be able to tell everyone what's going to be going on. So obviously the card names here listed, if you've played recently, drafted recently, you'll realize that these are like Crimson Vow cards. So obviously I'm not going to just try to use these. I listed all the cards from the comments from Crimson Vow, so I have some basis, because I assume that, and I know that they've been doing this for a while, making draftable sets for a while, so they'll have different cards that will have different roles. Like you'll see here, you have each color will have a different sort of little bit different balance. Some colors will have a little bit more creatures than others, and the sizes of the creature will vary, and whatever else is there will vary as well. So as you'll see, you have one. This is blue, so you'll have one drop, a pretty good one drop, and a couple of actually 3 2-drops, none of which are nearly as playable as the one drop. Although I don't think I've ever played these, but I'll play the Steelguard Spirit every once in a while, and Red Throne now and then. If I have several, I'll play them, but well, I'll often play even 2. Then we have 3 drops, 4 drops, 5 drops. Let's see, yeah, and 1 5-drop and 1 6-drop. And then you get to the spells. So you have 11 creatures and 8 spells here. And I listed them like in CMC order. Creatures first, then spells, and for each color. I have some stuff here on white, but we'll go through that on a later video. But anyway, I listed all of the cards, so I have some basis for these. But so this is what I want to show you. So I think I should have started with the commons, but so what I wanted to do first was to get an idea on what I want to do with each of the color pairs, and these are subject to change. I'm not promising that these are the final ones, but like for draft reasons, they do have these uncommons that are called what are they called? I don't remember, but anyway, they have some name for these. I really should have checked some of these terminology first, because I keep forgetting. But anyway, so they will have these uncommons that are from 2 different colors, 2 colored uncommons, and signpost uncommons. Yes, that's the name, signpost uncommons. So these give you an idea what each of the color pairing is about. Like for example here, Lina, Injured Officer, legendary bird scout. So I've made all of these legendary, who is white and blue, 2/3 for 2, so pretty good. And whenever 1 or more creatures with flying you control attack, surveil X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So it doesn't fly itself, and obviously this is kind of weird and unintuitive, because you can attack like with 10 different creatures, only 1 of which flies, but the X will still be 10. So you have to read this carefully. So this might not be a good idea. Like it should probably be the number of creatures with flying or whatever. But yeah, so yeah. So yeah, surveil is going to be like a big theme, or as I mentioned, like graveyard is going to be a big theme, and being able to plan ahead is going to be a big theme. So this is why I don't want to have like too many cards with this high surveil, for example, because it slows down the game quite a bit. If you played with someone who's forced to look at like 2 cards and scry 2, they'll use extraordinary amount of time just looking at those 2 cards. Well, not everyone, but many people, and I hate that. But anyway, so I don't want to have too many cards which have this very high surveil, but some cards. So, and I also know that because obviously all of these characters are from different planes, because they ended up here for various reasons. So this woman is from Strixhaven and used to be a member of Lorehold. Yeah. And then we have Dragoslava, information broker, legendary human rogue, 1/3 for black and blue. And whenever you surveil, target rogue can't be blocked this turn, and when it attacks, drain 1 and only triggers once per turn. And Dragoslava is from Ravnica. It used to be Dimir. And oh yeah, I forgot the list here, but since she's Dimir, she knows the other people from the several people from Ravnica here. So she definitely knows them because obviously Dimir know everything or have a lot of information the others might not have. So the others don't know about her because she wasn't. I guess she might have been remarkable within Dimir, but obviously most of the members of Dimir are members of Dimir secretly, so they weren't aware of her, but she is definitely aware of them. Then Paraskevas 2 Penitent. Legendary Vias in a summon, black and red, 4/4, menace, and whenever Paraskevas attacks, you may discard a card. Card name deals 2 damage to itself, and target creature can't block this turn. So, yeah. Again, I'm not sure if any of these will be the final mechanics for them, but I did want to have like something that damages itself, because again, Paraskevas is from the is a penitent, like does flagellancy, whatever, and probably can shock people into not wanting to block, but also that means that he's going to be damaging himself. Again, from Ravnica, also knows of Great Task, used to be a member of Cruel. But yeah, okay, so while Dragoslava hasn't changed colors, you'll note that many of them have. Like Lorehold is white and red. So Mulina has evolved into something else, something other than she was in her previous life. So I assume she was pure white on Strixhaven, but here she is white and has adopted blue on top of that. But Dragoslava has remained the same, and Paraskevas has moved from, I assume Paraskevas was mono red, but has adopted black on top of that. Then we have Lina, Clan Protector, Legendary Rocks Warrior, star 4, power is the number of lands you control. If you have more lands than your opponent, she has trample, and she's from Band, but has again changed colors quite a bit. Well, based on one card from a set from the why do I keep forgetting these things? But you know, whatever that word is, where you have, you know, Pant, Chand, Grixis, Esper, and which one am I forgetting? And well, a fifth one. Let's see, Grixis, Chand. Oh, Naya, obviously. So there's one rocks card which has a quote from some member of Band that after the I guess it should back to be legendary Rhino Warrior, but anyway, that many of the Band on Band, when Band was separated from the others, the thing was that the rocks were often clerics, like Rune of the Hidden Realm and whatever. But when the worlds came back together, many of them moved onto a new life, and the Rhino card, where this quote comes from is actually blue and red and green. So this is largely based on that idea, or inspired by that. So Lady Eleanor, protector of orphans, is an elf peasant, white and green 2/2, and 1/1 creatures you control have hexproof. Actually, I don't have, like, I have an idea on what to do with this. Like, I want black and red to be the most aggressive color pairing. So red is obviously quite aggressive as usual. Although at one point I was thinking maybe I should make red less aggressive, but that didn't work on Strixhaven very well, so maybe I should try to avoid that. But okay, so obviously you see a surveil theme here, you see a flying theme here, you see a rogue theme here. Maybe I should add target rogue or assassin. Well, I'll think about that. Okay, so yeah, Melis. No, where was I? Here. So yeah, here this is just aggression. Like black and red are both very willing to just give away their resources for immediate payoffs. So this is what the discarding is about. But obviously, getting cards into your graveyard can be beneficial. I'll just have to figure out how, but I'm going to try to make it beneficial in some way. Yeah. So power, number of lands you control. If you have more lands opponent trample. So here the theme is, getting lands into play. So ramping basically. And then there's a theme around 1/1s. We'll see what that entails. 1/1s are kind of difficult from like, because, well, obviously 1/1s don't necessarily have a very great board. They don't necessarily do very much on board, so you have to be careful with them. But I do want to like have some in these specific colors, and there might be some, I don't know, some commander deck, I don't know, where this would be beneficial, like commander deck full of 1/1s maybe. Well, I know that if there was a card like this, someone would be inspired to try it out. Then great task, Bishop of Nothing. Okay, so yeah, one of the things here is that I've given several of these different names than what they would have used on their home planes, because obviously no one, when they arrive here, they don't speak the language. It's Planeswalker's special ability that they can speak the language of wherever they go, and obviously these people don't. So they just given these names from whatever the local language is that has developed here. So this Loxodon or elephant is just named Great Tusk. Like, there probably isn't many. Probably the people who gave this name haven't necessarily even seen Loxodon before. But there we are. So this is legendary Loxodon Cleric, should be legendary Elephant Cleric. Cost 2 on white and a black, and it's a 2/5. And other clerics you control gain +1/+1, because obviously we have the one faction that's full of clerics, or has a lot of clerics. And from Ravnica, used to be a member of Selesnya. So again, has changed colors as his look on life has changed. And I think at least most of the Loxodon on Ravnica, I remember, are members of Selesnya. So yeah. Then there's Swift the Unstable, legendary elemental, 2/2 flying haste. And whenever you cast instant, gains +1 power, and whenever you cast also gains +1 toughness. And if either power of toughness is more than 5, sack beginning of your end step, and you may return this card to the top of your library from graveyard whenever casting instant or sorcery. I'm not sure if it matters very much whether the power is going to be power toughness more than 5, but I just thought I'd add this little thing there. You know, flavor reasons, because the name is Swift the Unstable, and it might come into play sometimes. And obviously, this also means that your opponents can kill this with certain combat tricks. Maybe. I do want to put at least one such combat. Well, maybe like +2/+2 combat tricks are enough, because obviously sometimes you'll do something to trigger these abilities anyhow. Then Dusk Talon, the Epicure of Memories. I'll have to change this name. I don't find it interesting. But anyway, so Legendary Shade, 2 black-green, 4/4. Mostly it's just the green part is mostly just because it means that it's big, and it gets, like the usual Shade ability, pump mana into it and it will grow. So in this case, you'll need both black and a green, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And whether you surveil a land into your graveyard, return it to your hand. And as far as we know, this is from this thing was born here. Oh yeah, and Swift the Unstable is from Zendikar, like, which has bunch of different. Because it felt very Zendikar to me. Corporal Spearhead, or I guess part of it, I wanted to have elemental here. Like, I was looking at what kind of elementals do we have that are both blue and red. So there's one from Magic 19, Corset 19 maybe, which is haste, flying 2/2 for a blue and red, an elemental. And personally, I do have fond memories of this because it was a key component of my limited deck in one, like, well, special tournament. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, so I wanted to just do something with that. But anyway, so I thought that if this guy is from Zendikar, I'll just put this idea that sometimes it just loses control over its body when it, like, gains much energy from spells. Might be more of a rare thing than an uncommon thing, but it's like the idea is understandable, so I think it's fine. Then the Corporal Spearhead, legendary Goblin Soldier, red and a white, 2/2. Attacking goblins you control have first strike. So yeah, there's a goblin theme here somewhere. I do think that the religious order we have might have a lot of goblins in it, because goblins are generally seen as fodder by many of the other races. So it's, I don't know if the upmost echelons of the white faction would actually eat goblins, but maybe they will. Maybe they're hungry enough. So this guy is from Ixalan, used to be a member of the Phantom Fleet. So white is a new thing for this guy. And then Cecile, Frontier Settler, legendary Elf Scout, green and a blue, 2/3. So kind of efficient as well. Can't be blocked with creatures by creatures with power more than 2. Whenever land ETP surveil 1 and tap 2 and 1 color, activate only if a land enters your graveyard this turn. And this girl is from Dominaria. So again, there's this. This specifically combines, land drops and surveil. So basically you'll get free whenever you surveil, and if you see a land, you can just put it into your graveyard and get it. It's somewhat like explore, except without the +1/+1 counters. Maybe I should think about having explore in this set. Nah, I think surveil is better. But yeah. So here's where I am currently. And don't worry about the card listed here above the artifacts and the one land. I'll take that out. But these are games from Crimson Vow, and just, you know, for me, I think Evolving Wilds will definitely be in, because the environment is still changing, because it hasn't been able to found like an equilibrium of any sort. But yeah, we'll see. And these are obviously might change, and I might change the text or whatever details here to make them more in line with other things. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I might want to put more elementals in. You know, just maybe like from the point of view of the environment in itself might affect all the creatures within it. So maybe like elementals and shades are born here in this world, like, well, that they just come about. But yeah, that might sound like something that would happen here. So I'll probably add, based on this, I'll probably add some elementals and some shades. I'll definitely add shades, but some elementals as well. So thanks for listening, and feel free to do all the interactive stuff if you want to. But otherwise, yeah, I'll see you later on.